Every Saturday, a mysterious rider stopped beneath the old oak tree, never spoke more than a few words, and quietly watched a poor schoolteacher reading to orphaned children. The town believed he was just another passing cowboy. But when his true identity was finally revealed, the entire frontier stood speechless, and the woman who had unknowingly changed his heart faced the biggest surprise of her life. Stay until the end, because this unforgettable Wild West story proves that the richest man isn't always the one with the most money, but the one with the biggest heart. Before we begin, if you love heartwarming Wild West stories filled with hope, kindness, and unforgettable endings, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's ride into today's story. Every Saturday morning, just as the church bell echoed across the quiet frontier valley, a lone black horse appeared on the winding road leading into the tiny town of Willow Creek. The rider never arrived with servants' expensive wagons or the proud confidence most wealthy ranchers carried. Instead, he wore a dusty brown coat, a faded hat, and simple leather boots worn from years in the saddle. To the townspeople, he looked like an ordinary traveler passing through. Few noticed him. Even fewer spoke to him. But week after week, without fail, he returned for one reason, and one person. At the edge of town stood a small outdoor school beneath a giant oak tree. There were no polished desks, no grand building, only rough wooden benches, a worn chalkboard, and children whose families could never afford proper schooling. Yet every lesson was filled with laughter because of one woman. Her name was Sarah Collins. Sarah lived alone in a tiny stone cottage covered with climbing ivy and wildflowers. She owned only 2 dresses, patched countless times, and often skipped her own supper so her students could have bread and warm soup before walking home. She never asked for payment. To her, every child deserved hope, whether their parents were ranch hands, blacksmiths, widows, or travelers with nowhere to stay. The mysterious rider always stopped beneath the same oak tree across the road. From horseback, he quietly watched Sarah teach reading, arithmetic, and kindness with equal passion. Sometimes he smiled when the children laughed. Other times his eyes grew thoughtful as he listened to stories she read aloud. His real name was Nathan Carter, owner of the largest cattle ranch for hundreds of miles. His land stretched beyond rivers and mountains. Hundreds of men worked for him. Newspapers called him one of the richest ranchers in the territory. But Sarah had no idea. To her, he was simply the quiet cowboy. One afternoon after class ended, Sarah noticed him lingering by the fence. "You've been coming here every Saturday," she said with a gentle smile. Nathan tipped his hat. "I suppose I have. Do you have children?" He looked toward the laughing students. "No." "Then why keep coming?" Nathan hesitated before answering. "Because this place reminds me there's still goodness left in the world." Sarah smiled warmly. "Goodness doesn't belong to rich people or poor people. It belongs to anyone willing to share it." Those simple words stayed with Nathan long after he rode away. The following week he returned carrying a sack of books. He quietly left them outside the school before sunrise without writing his name. Sarah believed an anonymous traveler had donated them. The week after that, new blankets appeared for the children, then fresh pencils, then winter coats. Every gift arrived without explanation. The townspeople wondered who the mysterious benefactor might be. Nathan never claimed the credit. He preferred watching Sarah thank God instead of thanking him. As autumn painted the hills gold, Nathan realized something unexpected. He no longer visited Willow Creek because he admired the school. He came because every smile Sarah gave the children slowly healed a loneliness wealth had never been able to cure. He was falling in love with a woman who had never once asked what he owned, only who he was. Winter arrived early in Willow Creek, bringing freezing winds and empty cupboards. Even then, Sarah refused to close her little school. Every morning she gathered firewood before sunrise, lit a small stove, and welcomed every child with a smile that hid her own hunger. When one little boy came without boots, she quietly gave him her only warm pair and walked home barefoot through the snow. Nathan watched everything from a distance. The richest rancher in the territory had seen wealthy people donate money for applause, but he had never seen someone give away the last thing they owned without expecting anything in return. That evening, Nathan secretly paid the town carpenter to repair the broken school roof. He bought coal, blankets, books, and food, but made the carpenter promise never to reveal his name. When Sarah arrived the next morning, she stood speechless. "The Lord must be watching over us," she whispered. Nathan smiled quietly from across the road. One Saturday, a frightened horse bolted through town, racing straight toward the children playing outside the school. Before anyone could react, Nathan galloped forward, pulled a terrified little girl out of the horse's path, and stopped the runaway animal with remarkable skill. The townspeople cheered. The sheriff hurried over and recognized him instantly. "Monsieur, Nathan Carter, the owner of Carter Ranch." The entire street fell silent. Sarah stared at the dusty cowboy she had known for months. You're Nathan Carter?" she asked softly. Nathan removed his hat. "Yes." Sarah looked confused. "Then why pretend to be an ordinary ranch hand?" Nathan smiled gently. "Because I wanted someone to know my heart before they knew my fortune." Tears filled Sarah's eyes. She realized the quiet stranger who had watched every lesson, donated every book, repaired the school, and protected her children, had never been seeking gratitude. He had simply been searching for someone who believed kindness mattered more than wealth. And for the first time, Sarah saw not the richest rancher in the territory, but the humblest man she had ever met. The truth spread across Willow Creek within hours. Everyone was stunned that the quiet cowboy had been Nathan Carter all along. Some people suddenly treated Sarah with new respect, believing she had been lucky to win the heart of the richest rancher in the territory. But Sarah gently replied, "I never fell in love with a wealthy rancher. I cared for the humble man who stood beneath the oak tree every Saturday." Her words touched Nathan more deeply than any praise he had ever received. A few days later, Nathan rode to the little school one final time, not to watch from a distance, but to stand beside Sarah. In front of the children and the townspeople, he removed his hat and said, "Sarah Collins, you've spent your life building futures for other people. Will you let me spend the rest of my life building one with you?" With tears in her eyes, Sarah whispered, "Yes." The children erupted with cheers as Nathan slipped a simple ring onto her finger. It wasn't the size of the diamond that mattered. It was the promise behind it. After their wedding, Nathan refused to close the little outdoor school. Instead, he built Sarah a beautiful new schoolhouse with large windows, warm fireplaces, shelves full of books, and enough space for every child in the valley. Above the front door hung a wooden sign that read, "Character's the greatest wealth." Years later, travelers passing through Willow Creek often wondered why the richest rancher in the territory spent so much time helping children instead of chasing more fortune. The townspeople always gave the same answer. Because one poor schoolteacher taught him that the heart is worth more than gold. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who believes kindness is life's greatest treasure. Until next time, may God bless you, and thank you for watching.